Funding for Shaperillis is provided by Squarespace, the sponsor of today's video. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business. 2021 was the awkward year in between the Sonic Movie 1 and the Sonic Movie 2 coming out, meaning nothing of note happened in the realm of cinema outside of the trailer for the Sonic Movie 2 dropping. Fortunately, if you ignore the gaping Sonic-shaped hole in this year's release schedule, it was a pretty good year for cinema actually. Almost like a bunch of good movies from last year got pushed into this year for some unexplained bizarre reason. What do you know? Anyway, there's so many good movies this year that I expanded my list to a top 15, meaning I don't have a ton of honorable mentions this time. In fact, the only movie I want to honorably mention is In the Heights, which barely missed this list by one spot, and I feel really bad about that. Oh well, shouldn't have butchered the heart of the original musical by removing a boil of significance, otherwise maybe you'd be on this list. But yeah, In the Heights is really good. I made a video about it, go watch that and then watch the movie, it's good. And special shout out to Dear Evan Hansen for being the worst movie I watched all year. We will talk about that one in greater detail sometime soon, don't you worry. Anyway, let's get a move on. Here's my top 15 movies of 2021, baby.
Number 15.
The Green Knight is a cool medieval fantasy movie about a guy who chops off a magic dude's head, but then he's gotta go travel and get his own head chopped off a year later in return. SMH, this is why you should have just given him a light scratch instead. What the hell were you trying to prove there?
1 year hence.
Yeah, this is a really good movie with some stunning cinematography and a great lead performance. Some stretches of the story can be kinda slow, which means I wasn't engaged with it 100% of the time, but any pacing problems are more than made up for by its excellent ending. I don't love it as much as everyone else, but I think it's definitely worth a watch.
Young's just 14.
Pig is a deeply shocking movie in terms of how not shocking its content is, which is shocking because of how you go in expecting to be shocked, only to come out of it sad and bitter and deeply disappointed. But like, in a good way. This is a movie that never goes in the direction you expect and subverts your expectations of what the main character is really like and what he'll do. It's a touching and heartfelt exploration of someone struggling to cling to what little meaning remains in an increasingly meaningless world. Nicolas Cage is outstanding, and the movie contains the most tense dinner scene in a film since Shrek 2 and a clear homage to Ratatouille. So like, that's how you know it's a winner.
Number 13.
This might be a controversial statement, and I don't expect anyone to agree with me on this, but this guy, Steven Spielberg, I think he makes really good movies. West Side Story is the most I've enjoyed one of his movies since like, I don't know, Catch Me If You Can from 2002. It seemed like such a dumb, nonsensical idea to remake West Side Story, but man, did he pull it off exceptionally well. The filmmaking and camera work on display here is exquisite. Mwah! Chef's kiss. The way this movie looks, it's hard to describe, but it just feels so vintage. Like it was plucked straight out of the 60s. It might be the most timeless film of the whole year. The choreography and musical numbers are just outstanding. Rachel Zegler is such a star in the making. Mike Feist is incredible. So glad he did this movie and not the Dear Evan Hansen movie. Oh man, dodged a bullet there. That shot of the puddle, oh my god. That might have been the best shot of the year if it didn't have Ansel Elgort in it. Yeah, he's not great on camera in this or off. And the movie's also a little too long, and I don't love the way Tony and Maria first meet. I think other versions of West Side Story do that better. I don't know, it's not perfect, but it is a master filmmaker creating the kind of movie he should have done a long time ago. Make more musicals, Steven. You're killing it, sweetie.
14.
12. 14.
Yep, this spot goes to Luca. It sure is a nice movie, and I sure did talk about it before. I don't want this video to go on for too long, so I won't talk excessively about the movies I've already reviewed before. But this is a nice, charming, slice-of-life Pixar movie, which I hope we see more of in the future. Pixar has a tendency to buckle under the weight of their own ambition from time to time, but Luca reminds us that sometimes the simpler stories can be all the sweeter. Also, now I'm hungry for spaghetti. Gonna go order some. Bye!
Number 11.
Come On is a tender and beautiful film that illustrates how difficult but ultimately fulfilling it is to raise children. It's just such a sweet movie. The kid's really good in it, and so is the Joka Man, Walking Phoenix. I don't even really know what I could talk about with this film. It's just beautiful in its simplicity, but its propaganda absolutely did not work on me. I still do not want kids, but like, being an uncle would be pretty nice. I'd do that. This is a nice movie. Yep, it's The Mitchells vs. the Machines. Already talked about it in its own video, then talked about it again in the Sony ranking. It's still very funny and charming, and I said words about it before, so go check those words out. Okay, bye.
Number 9.
boy am I shocked that this movie was that great, let alone top 10 great. Spider-Man No Way Home is a movie I've already talked about in its own video, and I should probably be courteous and avoid spoilers in this ranking, even though I'm sure everyone who wanted to see this movie has already seen it. But it just stuns me how a movie with this much pure, unadulterated fan service in it can actually use that fan service to enhance not only the story of the MCU Peter Parker, but also the previous Spider-Man continuities. If you're a Spider-Man fan at all, I don't understand how this movie can't make you at least a little bit happy. And for me personally, it made me a lot happier than just a little bit. It really is the best example of fan service and nostalgia bait done right in any movie in recent memory. It's basically the anti-Rise of Skywalker. And now, for the first time since the beginning of 2021, I'm excited for what the future of the MCU holds. A lot of people thought I hate the MCU now because I didn't like the mediocre TV shows they put out this year that much, which, no, of course I still really like the MCU. I just didn't see a valid reason yet for it to continue past Endgame, which seemed like the perfect finale for the entire thing. And now I have that reason, that desire to see more from this universe, which, while flawed and definitely not the most artistically special thing in the world, is still a hell of a lot better than its detractors will make you believe. Please, studios, don't take the wrong idea from this movie's success and start cramming cameos and fan service into your movies with no rhyme or reason. I can't take another Shrek situation where a movie did something really well, but then everyone copied it poorly, which made everyone think that the original movie that did this thing was bad. Don't let that happen. Anyway, that's enough talking about a movie that totally doesn't have Andrew Garfield in it. Let's move on to a movie that definitely has Andrew Garfield in it. Holy shit, I have been dying to talk about Tick Tick Boom. Which, I mean, I suppose I could have just made a video on it, but like, I was busy the past few months, leave me alone. I am in love with this movie. It isn't perfect, hence why it's not higher on this list. I think sometimes the story stalls a bit, and some of the songs aren't too impressive musically, so essentially most of my problems with this movie are just problems with the original musical. But this might be one of the best transitions from musical to movie I've ever seen. Hot damn, does Lin-Manuel Miranda know what he's doing whenever he's behind the camera instead of in front of it. I don't love the guy, but his creative mind is just too special and needs to be preserved. The creativity of the shots, the way certain scenes are brought to life, the fucking cameos from the entire Broadway community. Holy shit! I can't believe this movie is real. This is Spider-Man No Way Home for theater kids. This is how I win. Speaking of which, yeah, we need to talk about Andrew Garfield in this movie. He honestly gives my favorite performance of the entire year. He absolutely steals the show, capturing Jonathan Larson's manic energy and frustrations over his creative failures so expertly. Garfield is just so good at playing manic characters, which you can see in both this and that other movie that came out this year. But his singing, oh my god, who knew he could do that? Did you know Andrew Garfield was that good a singer? Cause I didn't. You don't just get an A-list celebrity to appear in a movie musical and then have it just work out perfectly. Like that just doesn't happen. But he's fantastic in this. This is such a phenomenal movie about the musical theater process and how burned out it can leave you when nothing you throw against the wall seems to stick. And how perseverance is key and just, oh my god. And I don't even like Rent. I hate it. But it's so cool to see little bits and pieces of Larson's life that would get incorporated into Rent later. And this is such a better musical than Rent that it's not even funny. Like, it has the exact same themes, but it's actually good and nuanced and powerful and everything that Rent isn't. Do you guys want me to make a full video on this movie? Cause I can do that. Just let me know. If Andrew Garfield doesn't get an Oscar nomination for this movie, I will literally become the Joker. Thank you, bye. Spider-Boy was definitely the most talked about comic book movie of 2021, but DC definitely put out the best comic book movie this year with The Suicide Squad. Yeah, I didn't watch the Snyder Cut, I'm sorry, I don't care. I reviewed Suicide Squad Aside before, and I feel the same now. It's a stunningly great and unbelievably fun film. Pretty much my favorite DC movie since the goddamn Dark Knight. And no, I don't have a Marvel bias. I also love Shazam, so there. That's 2 whole DC movies I loved in the past 14 years. Completely unbiased. Everyone in this movie does a great job. It's incredibly funny. The action is satisfyingly brutal and visceral. Go check it out. It's a pretty fun time, and I talked about this before in a video. Wow. Number 6. Part of me feels like I'm committing an unforgivable sin by keeping Dune out of the top 5, but I think that just illustrates how fantastic this year was for movies in general. A lot of competition, and Dune does have the unfortunate distinction of being a part 1 and adapting what everyone tells me is the less interesting part of the overall story. But if this is the less interesting part, then I think Dune Part 2 might end up being the best movie ever made, because holy shit is this movie unreal. It's the most immersive and breathtaking cinematic experience of 2021, with a deliberately slow story that nonetheless manages to suck me in from beginning to end because of how thoroughly it explores every facet of this endlessly exciting world. Denis Villeneuve... I'm gonna look up how to pronounce that real quick.
Denis Villeneuve.
Denis Villeneuve? He's Canadian? I didn't know that.
Canadians are weird.
Denis Villeneuve is a master of counteracting my short attention span and keeping me on the edge of my seat throughout what is essentially 2.5 hours of setup. But the setup is so well filmed and atmospheric and lived in, and oh man, this is what I call a fucking movie. This very well may be the next Lord of the Rings, just an unforgettable cinematic saga that takes the world of cinema by storm. It's a movie that puts nearly every other modern blockbuster to shame, foregoing cringeworthy quips and mediocre action in favor of some truly awe-inspiring filmmaking and a story and universe that captures the imagination. I knew nothing about Dune going into this, and now I'm becoming a die-hard fan. And while I still think Blade Runner 2049 is Villeneuve's best work, I absolutely believe this movie's sequel will top it. Shout out to this phenomenal Part 1 for laying the foundation. Alright, let's take a quick break from ranking these puppies and talk about worm safety protocol. You always want to make sure to walk in a big zigzag formation so the Alaskan bullworms can't sense your movements. I'm gonna compile this and other valuable worm safety information and put that all on a website. A website that I will of course make using Squarespace. Squarespace is a fantastic, intuitive online website builder that allows you to create beautiful websites for your business or personal hobby. Present your work using Squarespace's professional portfolio designs. Display projects in customizable galleries and add password-protected pages to share private works with clients. You can even present your videos from YouTube, Vimeo, and Animoto on your Squarespace site. Add an image overlay to your video to improve your website's load speed by waiting to embed video players until playback starts. Every design automatically includes a unique mobile presence that matches the overall style of your website, so your content will look great on every device, every time. And if you don't want that, you can always disable the mobile view from Website Manager. Buying a domain from Squarespace is so simple because there are no hidden fees or price hikes. Each domain comes with an ad-free parking page and free WHOIS privacy on eligible domains. Squarespace sells over 200 top-level domains, so you can find the perfect name for your website. Choose a URL that ends in .com, .net, .org, or you can always get a more specific one like .art if you want to be fancy. If you're ready to share your passions or promote your business with the rest of the world, head to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/ShayFrillis to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. It's a little weird to talk about Judas and the Black Messiah now, since it's a 2021 release that was eligible for the 2020 Oscars because of the COVID extension, but regardless, I couldn't leave it off the list. It's an exceptionally powerful historical drama with great filmmaking and terrific performances from Daniel Kaluuya, Jesse Plemons, and especially Lakeith Stanfield. I know Kaluuya won the Oscar, but I think Lakeith sold me the most on just how heartbreaking this story is and how fucked up his character was. This man has come a long way from just being the guy who screams "Get out" in Get Out.
Get out! It's the name of the movie.
And also L in the live-action Death Note,
I'm British.
which is a fact I just have to live with, and now so do you. I really want to watch this movie. It looks hysterically bad. But yeah, Judas movie really good. A tough watch, but a consistently engaging and well-made one. The easy choice for Best Picture last year. Who the fuck even remembers Nomadland? I'm sorry. This is not how you follow up Parasite, you dumbass Academy. Oh well, next year the Sonic movie 2 will win Best Picture and all will be forgiven. Licorice Pizza is a movie that features neither licorice nor pizza, and that makes me angry. I spent the whole movie entirely hungry for the promised pizza, and instead all I got was an incredibly charming, funny, well-filmed, well-paced romantic comedy with two unbelievably talented lead actors. This is fucking bullshit. But like, the movie was fantastic. What do I think about the controversial age gap in this movie? The movie is very smart in maintaining ambiguity about the nature of their relationship throughout most of the movie, which keeps the story from feeling uncomfortable. And movies are not supposed to be a perfect reflection of real-world morality. If you are 25 IRL, don't date a 15-year-old or I am calling Chris Hansen on you. It's that simple. If you don't want to fuck with this movie, that's totally fine. I just thought the characters' ages were crucial to their arcs and personalities, and they handled it as well as they could have. Until the ending, which I really don't like, plus it's very abrupt, and it's my biggest problem, but the rest of the movie is fantastic. Go watch it. If this somehow loses Best Screenplay to some bullshit like Don't Look Up, then I'll become the Joker again!
Barbara Streisand?
Barbra Streisand.
Sand.
Sand, yeah, like sands.
I thought I was a crazy person for being the only one obsessing over Encanto for a month straight. But then it came out on Disney Plus, and I finally feel justified, because wow, everyone's talking about this movie. And I'm thrilled about that, because it just gets better the more I think about it, and the fan art and memes that have come out of this movie have been a delight. This might just be one of my top 10 favorite Disney films of all time. Like, it really is that good. I wasn't huge on the songs the first time I watched it, but they grew on me a ton over time. We Don't Talk About Bruno is just a musical marvel, from the lyrics to the melody to the counterpoint at the end where everyone's singing on top of each other. Ooh, so good. And the way they incorporated choreography into an animated film, like you never see that. This truly is a musical theater lover's musical, which is such a rarity for modern Disney, shockingly. And there's so many more powerful messages to chew on with this movie, not just the gifted child metaphor I pointed out in my original review. There's so much to discuss with this film, and almost all of it is positive, but I'll save it for the multiple inevitable videos it's gonna get later this year. I don't think Disney Animation is out of the woods yet. They need to keep a streak of great movies going in order to prove that this one wasn't just a fluke. But if this is any indication, the future is potentially bright again for them. I'm cautiously optimistic to see what they do next. Wes Anderson, you fucking king! Much like Encanto, I never would have expected The French Dispatch to be this high on my end of the year ranking. I heard it was kinda mid for a Wes Anderson movie going in, which no, it's not at all. It's fantastic. I thought Isle of Dogs was kinda mid for old Wesley. What? But with this movie, he's back in top form. This is one of the most visually satisfying and visually creative films I've ever seen. At least in the realm of live action. Everyone knows animated films look the best visually. But everything about this presentation, the shots, the sets, the colors, yeah, it's about what you expect from Wes Anderson at this point, but I think it's been cranked up even further than usual here. And on top of that, the stories told in this movie are practically perfect. Engaging, endearing, incredibly well written, incredibly well performed. Maybe the last one veered a bit too far into insanity and unbelievability with the whole chef cooking food for the kidnappers thing, but it reeled me back in with the chase, which was probably my favorite movie scene of the whole year. Yeah, this is definitely one of his lighter films, and it might be hard for people to get as attached to it due to its anthology nature, but dude, it's just so fun that I don't even care. It gave me everything I wanted and more. It's the rare kind of indie film that I would recommend to anyone. I think no matter who you are, you'll have a great time with this wild ride. If we're being rigid with a definition of what a film is, then this was my favorite film of 2021. But I personally think there's one other quote-unquote film that was even better. I can't believe it. These Hollywood movies that cost hundreds of millions of dollars lost to a sock. Bo Burnham's Inside is one of the most raw, depressing, gut-wrenching pieces of art I've ever seen. It's a deconstructive look at how difficult it is to remain jovial and lighthearted in the midst of an overwhelmingly bleak scenario. Starting off fun and humorous before delving deeper and deeper into the psyche of someone more alone than ever. Some people have levied criticism against this film, and yes, I see no reason why it isn't a film, by pointing out that Bo is wealthy and he doesn't actually live in this small space by himself. This is just the guest house, and he goes back to his bigger house to be with his girlfriend every day after filming. I mean, sure, but I don't think this is meant to be a one-to-one accurate depiction of Bo's experience with the pandemic. I think it's supposed to mirror all of us, trying to do what we normally do as best as we can, but struggling more than ever. Thematically, this picks up where Bo's previous special, Make Happy, left off, and gives us even more insight into how he uses humor to cope with his pain and depression and existential dread. Ultimately, we don't know if some of it is embellished or exaggerated. We don't know where Bo the person ends and Bo the performer begins. But if the powerful feelings he expresses through this special connect with the audience on a deep and personal level, does it even matter? Even if the line between fiction and nonfiction is blurred, I can't help but be moved by the incredibly raw display of emotional vulnerability present in this film. And no offense to Tick Tick Boom or Encanto, but this is my favorite musical of 2021. The songs are not only incredibly catchy and memorable, but the best ones have such a dark and sinister undercurrent that ties into the main theme so well. Bo has done some great musical work over the years, but he really outdid himself with Welcome to the Internet, one of the best villain songs I've ever heard. There's such an air of tragic relatability to that funny feeling, where you just hear him list off all the bullshit of our modern culture and think to yourself, is this it? Is this all we have left? Even the fucking Jeff Bezos song. The first one is incredibly funny, but by the much darker point in the special where we get to the reprise, yeah, it's still upbeat, but it's also weirdly dark and creepy. Like, shit, congratulations Jeff Bezos and all the billionaires like you won, and the rest of humanity has essentially lost. And All Eyes on Me is such a powerful and tragic admission of defeat. This is a film that dares to point out, maybe the world isn't gonna get better. And it doesn't do that by beating you over the head with its message like some piece of films I know. It slides that message down with a spoonful of chipper, catchy songs and funny bits, illustrating how we're all still trying to be our normal selves in spite of how overwhelmingly difficult it's become. You say the whole world's ending? Honey, it already did. I loved Inside when I first saw it upon its release, but it didn't feel right to take it and try and turn it into content for my own channel. Even though there was a ton to analyze, doing so felt like it would run incredibly counter to the film's message. I made a fun Smash Bros parody based on Welcome to the Internet, since I didn't see a problem with an individual song from the show being taken out and reworked, but that's as far as I was willing to go with this. However, this is a ranking of my favorite films of the year, and I did need to justify why I would rank this as my #1 favorite film of 2021. So, there you go. It's funny, it's shockingly well shot with some stellar lighting, especially considering how Bo did this all himself, and it's got some incredibly great songs. But at the end of the day, its status as one of the most powerful existential nightmares I've seen in quite some time absolutely makes it the best movie of 2021 for me. Thank you, good night, I hope Bo is happy.